Alright, what's up everyone? We are back on Void Rivals, and last issue had us asking a lot of questions, which some of them get answered today with issue 10. So this picks up after the events of what happened in issue 9, and we are at Zeratonia, which we see, I forget his full title name, but we see Zalak. These names I suck at pronouncing for Void Rivals. Basically, the leader of Zeratonia speaking to someone, which is actually Minister Doolin of the Agoria side, aka Dark's dad of the Sacred Ring. These two are friends. I know it's weird, it's kind of crazy. They're like at each other's throats with the war, but yet they're friends behind the scenes. But we see Minister Doolin asking the whereabouts of his son Dark, which if you didn't know, Dark is the son of Doolin. And at first, when Doolin found out about Dark being captured, he basically said, yeah, do whatever, he means nothing to me. But we actually do find out that he does care a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't say he like fully is like, oh, I miss my son, but it's more of like, yeah, like this quicker this, is done and he's taken care of and executed, the more I can go back to focusing of the Civil War and not having to worry about his son running around. But we do see him smirk at the bottom of this page, kind of happy that his executed has been delayed. But we transition to Springer versus Proximus. And I know in the live streams and other videos I kept calling this dude Proxima. My bad. It's Proximus. Like, come on, man. This isn't Marvel. This ain't Proxima Midnight. All right. But we are picking up back up on the fight between these two. And in last issue, it really did give you the impression that they were evenly matched. But like I said in the last video, you gotta be fully prepared to take down a cybertronian. And Proximus was not prepared, as Springer decides to, fully use his capabilities of being a cybertronian and decides to transform into his car mode and just starts hitting and running over Proximus, which is just amazing and honestly very genius. Because Springer even brings up how basically saying, you guys are well trained at fighting, but have you guys ever been trained to fight for fighting vehicles? Which is a good point. And we see Dark pick up the device the Zealots gave Solia back, I think in issue 5, like they're like a group of witches that, kind of only obey and listen to Zerta, and they gave Solia this little device key looking thing. But when Dark picks it up, Solia literally wakes up, kicks him, puts him in a chokehold, and is like, don't touch that. And she literally lays back down and passes out, and Dark's just like, yeah, I'll just put that back where I found it for now. Like, bro literally got like sleep kicked. Like, I don't know. Dude has the worst of luck. But we shift back to the Proximus and Springer fight. And I mean, this fight just wraps up like that, man. I mean, like, not even a contest, because we see Springer pull out his forearm blaster, which is an amazing reference to the 1986 movie that Springer used for that one frame and we never saw again. Why, Hasbro? Why? That's such a cool thing. He should have used it more in the movie and, season 3 of the cartoon. Why? Anyways, Springer shoots Proximus, which he ultimately dodges, but doesn't dodge Springer's sword, which just hits Proximus dead on in the chest. And like I said, this fight just wraps up like that. Like, literally just the blade hits the middle of Proximus's chest. We do see Springer compliment Proximus, saying he's a worthy opponent and he's never fought one at that type of size, which is cool that Proximus gets his flowers, but ultimately it doesn't matter because he got clapped, But we see Springer look for Dark, and Dark tells Springer that Solia is getting worse. And as Springer lifts up his blade to go and help Dark, we actually end up finding out that Proximus is gone. Like, he just completely escaped from Springer's sword, which is nuts, dude. I mean, he's missing an arm and a leg, but the fact that he was able to get off of the blade somehow and escape is crazy. But Springer kind of just brushes it off and is like, I mean, he's missing an arm and a leg. It's not like he can make it far. But we actually end up seeing Springer take Dark and Solia into this cave looking area, and we end up seeing this like huge cave, like just base of operations that Springer has built and has been around for hundreds of years, and that he used leftover parts from his ship that he crashed on to the Sacred Ring to build this really cool, I mean, honestly, it's like a man cave, which is really cool. But we see this really cool, base of operations, and we see Dark take off his helmet showing his face, and Springer brings up how Dark's mind eye and Solia's mind eye are actually Energon ports, which means all he basically has to do is give Solia some Energon and she will be good as new. And when they are doing all that, we see Solia in this dreamscape sort of plain area, hearing a voice and telling Solia that all Zeratonians and Agorians are sleeping in a sense. And at first, you will awaken, and then you will awaken the rest, and that the time of unity draws near. And she continues to say all will be revealed to you in time, if you allow yourself to see it. And Solia responds with a name, Zerta, and the voice says, that is a name I answer to, yes. And Solia asks Zerta, what will you have me do? And so Zerta is giving Solia these instructions that she must venture into the depths of the ring to find her. And as Solia is asking how to find her, she doesn't even know where to begin. And Zerta responds with, your journey has already begun, and the Gorian began it for you long ago. And the next step in your journey will be difficult, to be sure, but I have already given you a key. And as Solia asks a key, what type of key, she wakes up and asks why Springer and Dark are staring at her like that. And the reason why they were staring at her is because now she's like glowing pinkish purple, which looks dope. And the reason why she's glowing this color is due to the Energon. It will fade once her energy levels kind of stabilize, but she's literally just like amped up with like Energon, so she's just kind of like glowing, which is really cool. And Solia then asked Springer how he was able to do what he did to her. And to basically summarize it, because I don't really want to confuse anyone here, because it is a lot of words being thrown around for his explanation, but to basically summarize what it is, basically Zeratronians and Agarians share Cybertronian-esque organics, or more so they are organic but they share Cybertronian properties. That's really the surface level of it. There's so much more to it, especially with the explanation Springer gave. I don't really know how Robert Kirkman's gonna play with this idea, to be honest. At least right now in the story, it feels kind of fast and loose, but we start to get the dots more connected as we go throughout this issue. But, you know, this whole thing feels a little bit fast and loose, and I am curious to know how Kirkman's going to play at it. It kind of reminds me on how Daniel Warren Johnson is doing it right now in Transformers with the Matrix, and how Sparky merged himself with the Matrix and how Optimus sees it. It's a whole thing. I don't know. I'm all for it, though. I think this is cool. So we're just going to have to, you know, wait and see how they expand upon this idea. Anyways, Springer explains to Solia and Dark that the Sacred Ring and how it is, it's basically an engine that generates Energon for a purpose they don't really know at this time. And this is where things get spicy for the story. So Springer explains how Energon fuels Cybertronians like himself, and explains how Cybertron is in shambles, and how much damage the Civil War did to the planet, and how a million years ago the Autobots left Cybertron and set out to the cosmos to find new sources of Energon in hopes that they could turn the tide in the war. And the honest fact here is that the Autobots are losing this war by a lot and are barely hanging on by a thread. And Springer mentions that he once heard a legend that one of the Cybertronians had broken away in the early point of Cybertronian history, shortly after they gained their independence from their creators, aka the Quintessons, and that she rebelled against her brethren to forge out a new path, and her name was Zerta Trion. And bang, this starts to connect many dots with this story, and I know some of you guys had that theory that Zerta Trion was a Cybertronian at some point. Well, here we are, and we get an explanation of what Trion means. It basically is people who have great wisdom and authority, and that only 2 of them exist on Cybertron. And we know the other one is the old timer himself, Alpha Trion. But as they are discussing the possibilities of what Zerta Trion is and what she says is true, they hear a loud explosion. So they quickly go up, and Springer suggests that it could be Proximus wanting another round, and we learn to find out it's much worse than that, as the whole army of the Zeratronians show up. And that's where this issue ends. And man, oh man, Void Rivals is getting good and really rich with the lore, which is amazing. I really am more curious to know who Zerta Trion is, like learn more about her, and maybe that she was friends at some point with Alpha Trion before she left and rebelled against her brethren to forge out a new path. But man, this really does raise a lot of possibilities. I mean, the fact that like Agorians and Zeratronians are also like part Cybertronian is also really cool. Again, we're gonna have to find out how they're gonna play that idea. Also too, you know that like this issue was pretty serious and rich with like info, because there was no Skuxoid shenanigans in this issue, which sucks because I like making fun of Skuxoid. But that's where I'm going to end this video. I would love to know your guys' thoughts on this. Are you guys, you know, more intrigued with Void Rivals now, at least now that they're getting more rich with the Cybertronian lore? Let me know. Catch up on the last video for more Transformers and Void Rivals stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, later.